Welcome to Legislature This Week, brought to you by West Virginia News, the State Journal, and West Virginia Public Broadcasting. Legislature This Week is sponsored by Mon Health Systems, as well as SEVA WV and the West Virginia High Technology Consortium. In today's first segment, we welcome Delegate Moore Capito of Kanawha County and Chair of the House Judiciary Committee. Moore, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be with you this morning.
Also with us is West Virginia News Government Affairs reporter Charles Young. Welcome, Charles, and let's kick off today's show. Moore, let's talk about, we're in the final few days of this year's session. What would you say are the biggest accomplishments so far?
I think you have to say that the biggest accomplishment so far was the one that was signed yesterday by the governor, providing tax relief to West Virginians. We're talking about the largest tax cut in the history of West Virginia. I know that we wanted to reach much further, but we were able to get substantial relief to the people of West Virginia, and so I've got to rank that as number one, and I'm incredibly proud that we were able to get that over the line and get that over the line with plenty of time to spare.
What about anything else that comes to mind? What about the education bill? I know the Third Grade Success Act is still out there hanging. What are your thoughts about that bill?
Well, I think one of the things that we've identified as critical for the future of West Virginia, if we want to continue to grow in a meaningful way and to attract people here and retain people in West Virginia, is that we have to ensure that our K through 12 systems are sound. That means obviously public school, that means private school, that means homeschool. So I think that you've really had some meaningful pieces of legislation that have come through our Education Committee. We've had some come through our Finance Committee. We've even had some in the Judiciary Committee to try to find the spots where we can have the greatest impact. You look at one of the bills that ran early on, providing for more assistants and more teachers' aides into some of those early classroom learning environments so we can provide the supplemental help that we need for our children that we saw through those test scores are falling a bit behind in reading and math. That's got to be absolutely critical. Another piece of that is ensuring that we're getting high-quality educators in front of our students. And of course, we've provided another teacher pay raise this year, which I think was earned. So we're definitely trying to make notable strides in that area because I think everybody knows that that's a critical piece for growth.
Been a little bit of pushback on the PEIA situation, and that's been out there. No increases in premiums and things for 12 years. What's your take on that? And is that where we need to go?
That is always a difficult discussion, and I'll tell you what. One of the most important things that we can do in West Virginia is ensure that our workers that work for the state of West Virginia and provide a service to the state of West Virginia get the deal that they signed up for. And part of that deal is getting great benefits. And one of those benefits is health care. Some of it's retirement as well. But what we had discovered is we sort of year after year after year were getting out of scale or a little out of whack, if you will, on the percentages of coverage. And, part of that's due to the cost of health care. Part of that is due to the funding source. So, there was a group of legislators that had been meeting, I think, from the summer and throughout the session to try to find a way to stabilize an insurance system that is a critical piece of attracting good state workers, to try to find a fix so that it can stay afloat.
One of the things that's been discussed by our past guests has been the three-legged stool approach of the tax cut, the pay raise, and then the PEIA increase. Kind of being able to say, hey, yeah, we had to raise these, but we're cutting your taxes and raising your pay. Do you think that's enough to keep state employees, and especially I think education unions seem to be the most up in arms?
Well, I don't know if we always want to do more. We always want to do more. We always want to have higher raises. We definitely wanted to have a larger personal income tax reduction. But I think what you're seeing in this area and in many areas in West Virginia is a really good trend. We have been making methodical, I think, and cautious steps forward to put more money back in the pockets of West Virginians, and that includes state employees. So as we move forward, and we do so, I think, prudently, we're able to continue to provide more for less, if you will. Of course, we want to do it all at once, but we believe, you refer to the three-legged stool, that was a first step that we could take in the right direction. And I'm hopeful and frankly very confident that we are going to be able to come back, next year and the years that follow to try to supplement that and make it even better.
Down to the final few days, and Charles may have some more detailed questions on this as well, but are there some bills hanging out there that you think absolutely we've got to get these across the line?
Well, one that's actually probably not talked about that much, I think a critical bill that we have to do, and we've worked a lot on it in our committee on the judiciary, is the redistricting of these circuits. So just like we have redistricting for delegates and senators, every 2 years after those redistricting activities occur, the legislature's charged with reapportioning our circuits. So, it kind of sounds boring, but the administration of justice, number one, and ensuring that our court systems aren't clogged are critical to ensure that people are getting in and out of our facilities quickly. We know how our jail bills are skyrocketing right now. So all of these things really add up, but getting the sort of foundational government structure in place, I think, is super important. So that's one thing I think we've got to get over the line. I know the Senate's working on that right now. We have a little bit of a differing opinion, but I'm confident we will get there on that. There are tons, and what I've found out in my time in the legislature is even with this many days, we probably have the vast majority of bills left to have final action on them, and that's even before they go to the governor. So there are a lot of critical pieces of legislation out there right now, and you'll see a lot of them move within the next couple days as we trade messages.
Charles, do you have some specific bills you'd like to ask about there?
Well, I did want to do a couple of follow-ups on a couple of things you mentioned there, Moore. First of all, you said, that you guys had wanted to reach much further with tax reform. Obviously, you're referring to, the governor's plan that the House started out with. What is next for tax reform? When we talked to the governor last week, he suggested, not waiting on these triggers. The idea of, if this is received well and implemented correctly, we could call a special session this summer, this fall, to implement further tax reform. What are you hearing on that?
One thing that I've learned is that the governor has done a fantastic job with driving business and driving investment in the state of West Virginia. We're seeing an incredible surplus in the billions for the first time ever. So I think that we can act, but to the governor's point, we'll have to see what those numbers look like. I know that there are others that would prefer to wait on the triggers that are set forth in the bill that we put in. But I think if we get to a meaningful number vis-a-vis sort of surplus as we go through the year, I think the quicker that we can act, the better. And folks that are looking at West Virginia from the outside, and I go back to this idea of trends. We look at the trends and the steps that we're taking, and we've been able to take steps forward without having had to take any steps back. And I think that's a testament to the legislature. That's a testament to the governor and the team that he's put around him.
Okay, well, and then I think we wanted to, kind of transition to talking about your gubernatorial campaign. I know that, that won't really start in earnest until next year, but the field is already filling up. There's a lot of conversation going around. So I wanted to hone in a little bit on, in your messaging, you've called yourself a West Virginia conservative. Tell me a little bit about what that means to you and why you felt the need to differentiate a West Virginia conservative.
I think West Virginians are proud. I think that we are unique. I don't subscribe to the notion that we need to sort of define ourselves as others have always tried to define us. We know in West Virginia that certain individuals look at us and have preconceived notions, but we're very proud of who we are and what we stand for. We stand for smaller government. We stand for a conservative, flat budget that we've seen has yielded results over the past years. And of course, we value energy. We've always been the energy experts in this country. Going back centuries in this state. And what I see is that we can be the future of energy. So let us be the energy experts and do what we're good at. And then finally, it's culture. In West Virginia, we have a unique culture. We take care of one another. We care about one another. And so I think my political philosophy is very much rooted in the culture that I was raised in. And I think it's unique, and that's why I brand it as a West Virginian conservative, because I think it's different than any other.
Well, like I said, I know that, the actual campaign season is a ways off, but tell us a little bit about your campaign plans. When do you plan to get into the full swing of it?
Well, I'm here in the Capitol right now, so one thing that I've tried to be obviously very mindful of is that I'm here to represent the people of the 55th and the people of the state of West Virginia, to move the state forward and to strengthen West Virginia. But I would say probably Saturday at about 12:01 we'll be off and running.
Well, Moore, you mentioned.
Oh, I guess that would be.
energy,
Excuse
and
me.
I
That would be Sunday morning. That would be Sunday morning at 12:01. I apologize.
Oh, that's
Gotcha.
Understood. Moore, you mentioned energy. Do you think right now, because there's been some pushback with the green energy efforts, and I know that coal gets a little excitable, natural gas gets a little excitable. Do we have the right balance there, do you think, to push forward as the energy state of the future?
I do. I think I think in some instances it's taking, it's taking certain, whether it's industry or legislators or regions of the state, time to really find where they fit or how they feel about that. But I really do think that we're getting there. We've seen investments. You look at the one that just happened, obviously, huge announcement in Ravenswood on Saturday. There was a component of sort of future power generation there with Berkshire Hathaway. We know and respect and want to continue to grow our coal industry, and we know that that's going to be part of our portfolio for a long time to come. We see how important our gas industry is. I mean, we've got to continue to build these pipelines. But look at all the resources that we have sort of naturally, is the way I look at it. So the opportunity that we have there, and then the mines that we have that work in that industry, MINDS. We have very great expertise in power generation, and I think that we're going to really see that that's going to unlock a lot of doors and really put us in the map as we power the nation going forward.
We talked a little bit about education and the key there. Do you think we're doing enough to, my big concern coming out of the pandemic was the amount of time they were out of classrooms, students were out of classrooms. Are we doing enough remedial work to help students catch up?
I think every West Virginian, and as a parent of two, one of which was in the early ages when they were going to school and having to wear these masks, and he was trying to learn to talk. It's very concerning, and frankly, I don't know that we fully realize all of the setbacks that we may experience from those closures. I know that we don't ever want to do that again, of course, but we have to absolutely focus in on education and early education especially. We know how critical, again, going back to it, reading and math is. I mean, kids learn to read, until they're in third grade, and then read to learn from there on out. So if they're not learning to read by third grade, we're already behind in most cases. And some people that'll differ on that time frame. But those are metrics that we need to shoot for. Those are metrics that are going to allow us to really springboard that next generation. Because at the end of the day, if we want to grow from an economic standpoint, we know any company that's here or any company that wants to come here is going to look at the education system and where they're going to be able to educate their children. So it's got to be the top priority.
Are you confident that the K through 3 bill will make it through?
At this point, I hate to give levels of confidence, but I will. I'm actually going to leave this table and go check to see where that one is right now. I think that could be an important component, and I'm going to get back to you on that one. I hate to put predictions with this little of time frame, but as we say, it's a few days left, but it's a long time in legislative life.
Well, and that bill made drastic changes Monday evening, and then into Tuesday it got changed again. So it's been kind of all over the place here in the past few days. So I understand your unwillingness to predict the future on that one. Before we wrap up, Moore, is there anything else you'd like to address with us?
Well, I just really appreciate you having me on. It's great to be able to talk about what we've been doing at the Capitol this year. There have been a lot of really great initiatives. We've taken steps to try to grow, going back to our energy sector, to try to grow our ability to attract carbon sequestration projects. The hydrogen hub creates incredible opportunities. These things don't always get written about, not because they're not important, but because they can be a little wonky. But the reason behind a lot of these pieces of legislation is to attract really new and forward-thinking industry to West Virginia, and we're making good strides.
Very good. Delegate Moore Capito of Kanawha County, and he is a Republican candidate for the governor of West Virginia coming up in 2024. Moore, thanks for joining us here at Legislature this week. We're going to take a brief pause for an important message, and we'll be right back.